My friends, let's be honest for a moment. You've been silent, you walked away, you pulled your energy back, and you thought that would shake them. You thought your absence would rattle their hearts so badly that they'd come crawling back with apologies and regret. But here you are, days or weeks later, staring at your phone, and nothing has happened. No knock at the door, no late-night text confessing they can't live without you. And deep inside, a voice whispers the most painful question. Did I lose them for good? Did my silence fail? Folks, I know that weight, that fear that maybe all those Stoic videos and advice lied to you. They said, walk away and they'll miss you. But you walked away, and they look unaffected. You see them smiling, posting, maybe even with someone else. And you wonder, was I just forgettable? Did they already move on? That doubt cuts like a knife. But here's where I need you to stop, breathe, and understand this truth. Silence isn't instant. Silence isn't begging. Silence is planting a seed. And just like a seed, it doesn't grow overnight. It grows in the dark, beneath the surface, where you can't see it. Let me give you a picture. Imagine you drop a stone into a still lake. At first, nothing seems to happen. But slowly, ripples spread out, touching every corner of the water. Your silence works in the same way. When you step back, when you stop giving them your energy, at first they think they won. They think they've silenced you. But slowly, quietly, your absence begins to ripple through their life in ways they can't admit. It creeps into their thoughts at night. It flashes in their memory when they see someone who looks like you. It echoes when a song comes on that once belonged to the both of you. You're not gone. You're haunting them in silence. But here's the twist, my friends, and this is what nobody tells you. If they look unaffected, it's not because they don't think about you. It's because you haven't unlocked the lever that turns silence into obsession. That lever isn't just walking away. Anyone can disappear. That lever is a blend of psychology, mystery, scarcity, and presence. Psychology says the human mind craves what it cannot have. Mystery makes them curious about what you're doing, who you're with. Scarcity tells them you are rare now, no longer easily available, and presence is the strange paradox. Your silence creates an invisible presence because the brain hates unfinished stories. They can't stop replaying it, wondering, why did you go quiet? Did they stop caring? Or are they living better without me? The mistake most of you make, folks, is thinking silence works instantly. You're measuring hours and days when the truth is measured in weeks and months. Silence is slow, but it's powerful. Think about firewood. You strike a match and it looks like nothing is happening. But beneath the surface, heat is building, and then, suddenly, it ignites into flame. That's how your absence works. What you need is patience. What you need is detachment. Because the moment your silence stops being about waiting for them and starts being about elevating yourself, that's when they feel the real sting. That's when silence shifts from absence to magnetism. And listen closely, this is where you win. The same silence that feels like failure now will become the reason they come crawling back later, but only if you master it. Only if you stop staring at the phone, stop wondering why they haven't begged yet, and instead focus on building a life so magnetic, so mysterious, that they can't ignore it. That's the magical shift. That's the lever. And once you flip it, they'll regret letting you slip away. So don't let the doubt fool you. Don't let the lies that they're unaffected poison your mind. They feel it, they notice, and in time, they will miss you. Your silence is not weakness, it's strength. Your silence is not being forgotten, it's being engraved deeper. Remember this, folks, the one who stays calm wins. The one who controls themselves controls the game. You are that person. You are calm. You are in control. And you are unforgettable. And now I want you to take this lesson and burn it into your mind. You don't beg, you don't chase, you don't fold, you remain calm, and you remain in control. That's your weapon, that's your power. I want you to prove it to yourself right now. Go to the comments and write the words. Calm, in control. Don't just type it, own it, stamp it into your identity. Every time you say it, every time you see it, you're reminding yourself who you are becoming. And if this truth is hitting you, if it's opening your eyes, then do what's necessary. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. Because this isn't the end of your story, my friends. This is the beginning of the comeback. Number 1. When silence feels like it's failing. My friends, let's walk right into the hardest part of this journey. You gave them silence. You walked away. You pulled back. You gave them the gift of your absence. And deep down, you thought it would shake them. You thought they'd notice the empty space where you once stood, and that it would haunt them until they came running back. But the days passed. Then the weeks, and nothing happened. No message, no knock at the door, no late-night call confessing regret. And suddenly that heavy question begins to creep into your mind. Did they forget me? Did my silence fail? Was I never important to begin with? That, my friends, is where the danger lies, not in silence itself, but in how you interpret the silence. You see, this is where most people trip and fall. They mistake the absence of immediate results for failure. But silence is not a weapon that strikes like a lightning bolt. It's more like fire smoldering under ashes, like an ember that hides its glow until suddenly the whole forest catches flame. The human mind doesn't always react on your timetable. Just because you don't see visible proof doesn't mean the impact isn't happening. In fact, Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." What does that mean for you? It means their reaction to your silence is happening on a level you cannot see, below the surface of their daily mask. They may laugh with friends, post pictures, or act like life is perfect, but deep in their unconscious, the ripple of your absence has already begun. Think of it like planting a seed in the soil. You press it down, cover it, and walk away. For days you see nothing. For weeks, sometimes you see nothing. And then the doubt creeps in. Maybe the seed died. Maybe it will never grow. But the truth is, underground in silence, something is happening. Roots are pushing, the shell is cracking, life is forming. And suddenly one morning the green sprout breaks through. Silence works the same way, folks. Just because you don't see the sprout yet doesn't mean your absence isn't breaking through their unconscious. But I know what you're thinking. If this silence is so powerful, why do they look fine? Why do they look happy? Why do they act like they never cared at all? That's the trick of the human ego. When people lose something valuable, they don't always run to admit it. Instead, they cover it. They run from it. They distract themselves. They may even jump into the arms of someone else just to bury the thought of you. But Jung tells us again, the things we resist persist. The harder they push against your memory, the deeper it etches itself into their mind. That is the irony of silence. The louder they pretend you don't matter, the more you haunt their inner world. Silence feels like failure because your eyes are desperate for evidence. You want to see a text. You want to hear a call. But the battlefield is not visible. It's psychological. Their thoughts are the battlefield, and you've already planted your flag there. Every time they scroll their phone and don't see your name, a small ache forms. Every time they pass by a place that reminds them of you, your presence echoes back into their mind. And the longer the silence stretches, the heavier that echo becomes, like a dripping faucet in the night, quiet at first, then unbearable. It seeps into their consciousness until they can't ignore it anymore. Now here's the hardest part, and you need to listen carefully. Silence feels like it's failing because you are still attached to the outcome. You're staring at the door, waiting for them to walk through it. You're checking your phone like a prisoner shaking the bars of his cell, and that energy bleeds through. People can feel it when you are silent on the outside, but desperate on the inside. That desperation makes your silence weak. But when you detach, when you no longer need their return, when your silence is filled with peace and growth, that is when silence transforms into power. So I ask you this, what do you think happens when they look at you and see that you no longer chase, you no longer need, you no longer break? What happens when they realize you've become scarce, mysterious, and untouchable? That is when their heart stirs. That is when regret creeps in. That is when silence stops being your weakness and becomes your crown. Folks, silence is not failure. It is a test of your strength. Imagine standing in a storm, the winds howling, the rain pounding, while everyone else runs for shelter. You don't move, you don't flinch, you simply stand, calm, unshaken. That is what your silence must become. A mountain does not collapse because the wind blows. A tree does not beg the storm to stop. And you, my friends, must not beg for their return. You hold your ground, because the one who holds steady always outlasts the one who runs. So when silence feels like it's failing, remind yourself, it's not failing, it's working beneath the surface. It's building pressure, carving regret, haunting their unconscious until they can no longer escape it. And when that moment comes, when the weight of your absence becomes heavier than the comfort of their pride, they will break their silence first. They will come back, not because you begged, but because you held steady. That is the power of restraint. That is the strength of Stoicism. Now I want you to claim it. Don't just listen and nod. Don't just think, that's true. Anchor it into your identity. Go to the comments and write these words, I hold my ground. Say it, type it, own it. Let the world see it. Let yourself believe it. I hold my ground. That is your shield. That is your victory. And if this truth hit you in your chest, if it spoke directly to your doubt, then press that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because this journey isn't over. The silence you fear today is the silence that will crown you tomorrow. My friends, you hold your ground. You win in the quiet. You are unshakable. Write it now. I hold my ground. Number 2, the mistake you're making. My friends, this is where the truth stings a little, because many of you think silence alone is enough. You think if you stop texting, stop calling, stop showing up, that this absence will automatically make them miss you. But here's the mistake. You confuse absence with value. Walking away is not the same thing as being wanted. Distance alone does not create desire. It's not the silence itself that draws them back. It's the energy behind that silence. And too many of you walk away with bitterness still burning in your chest, with need still dripping from your soul, with a heavy energy that screams, I'm waiting for you. I hope you notice me. Please come back. And believe me, they feel it. People can sense when your silence is empty, when it's not calm but desperate. You think you're hiding it, but energy leaks. Silence without an internal shift is like slamming a door, but then standing on the other side with your ear pressed against it. You're gone, but not really. And when that's the case, why would they chase? Why would they miss you if deep down they can feel you're still tethered to them? Carl Jung said it best. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. If you don't become aware of this hidden energy you're carrying, you'll keep wondering why silence never works for you, while others seem to master it. Think of it like this. Imagine leaving a room but leaving the light on. Anyone walking by still sees the glow under the door. That glow tells them they're still here. They didn't really go anywhere. That's what your energy does when you walk away with need. You may not be speaking, but your presence still bleeds through, whispering, "I'm waiting." And here's the harsh truth, folks. No one chases what they already know they can have. No one misses what is still silently available. Ask yourself honestly, when you went quiet, did you truly let go, or did you just pause your chasing? When you blocked them or stopped reaching out, was it calm, detached strength, or was it a strategy to get a reaction? Because if your silence is just a trick, it backfires. They don't feel your absence as power, they feel it as manipulation, and manipulation never inspires desire, it breeds avoidance. The Stoic way is different. True silence is not performed for them, it's practiced for you. It's not about teaching them a lesson, it's about teaching yourself discipline. It's not about tricking them into regret, it's about stepping into your own peace so fully that they cannot help but feel the void you left. That's the difference between absence and value. Absence says, "I'm gone, but I still care what you do." Value says, "I've moved into my own life so deeply that you may never touch me again." And that, my friends, is haunting. That is magnetic. Now, I know it's difficult. Your mind asks, how do I stop caring? How do I let go of the outcome when I still want them so badly? This is the battle, isn't it? It's not their silence that tortures you, it's your own. But here's where Stoicism gives you the edge. The Stoics taught that the only true freedom comes from controlling yourself, not others. And that's your task, to step into silence not as a tactic, but as truth. To detach so completely that even you feel the peace of not needing them. That shift changes everything. Picture it this way. When a prisoner shakes the bars of his cell, everyone sees he's trapped. But when he sits still, calm and unbothered, suddenly it's the jailer who feels the unease. That's the power of silence with detachment. It flips the roles. They no longer see you as the one waiting. They feel themselves becoming the one trapped in regret. That's when the pull begins. So, don't confuse absence with value. Don't mistake walking away for walking free. Make your silence strong by making your energy strong. Let go of the bitterness, release the need, and replace it with calm presence. Because when they can no longer feel your energy clinging, that's when they panic. That's when they start to chase what they thought was theirs forever. And here's what I want you to anchor today. Say it, write it, own it. My silence has power. Go to the comments and stamp those words. My silence has power. Every time you type it, every time you see it, you're reminding yourself not to just walk away, but to walk free. And if this truth hit you like a wave, if you feel that shift beginning inside you, press that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. Because the real power of silence isn't in their reaction, it's in your transformation. Write it now, my friends. My silence has power. Number 3, the invisible string of energy. My friends, this is where things turn from ordinary into something almost magical. We've already said that silence on its own is not enough. Anyone can stop talking. Anyone can vanish from a phone screen. But what makes the difference between silence that gets ignored and silence that haunts them is this: the invisible string of energy. Psychology shows us that human beings have a strange sensitivity. They can sense when someone still clings to them, even if no words are exchanged. They can feel when you're waiting, when you're hoping, when you're silently begging for them to return. It's like a subtle vibration that hangs in the air, and it tells them, you haven't really let go. And when they feel that string pulling, they don't need to chase you, because deep down they already know you're still there. Think of it like a tether. You walked away, yes, but you're still tied to them by that invisible rope. You're trying to walk in the opposite direction, but they can feel the tension, the pull, the constant reminder that you're still attached. And because they feel that, they don't panic. They don't fear losing you. They may even take advantage of it, knowing that no matter how far they drift, your energy is keeping them safe. That is why many of you think silence has failed. It's not that silence doesn't work, it's that you never cut the string. Now let's flip this on its head. The missing piece is detachment. The moment your silence is no longer filled with waiting, no longer poisoned with anger, no longer heavy with wounds, but instead becomes calm, elevated and mysterious, something changes in the air. That invisible string snaps. For the first time they can't feel you clinging anymore, and that absence, that break in the rope, creates a new kind of tension. Suddenly, they don't feel safe. Suddenly they wonder, where did you go? Why can't I sense them anymore? Have I truly lost them? That's when silence transforms from simple absence into pure magnetism. Carl Jung often spoke about the unconscious, about how so much of our behavior is driven by forces we don't even realize. This is one of those forces. Even without seeing you, even without hearing from you, they pick up on the energy shift. They can't explain why they're restless at night. They can't explain why memories of you suddenly sting. They can't explain why, in the middle of a happy moment, your name flashes through their mind. But you and I know why. It's because the invisible string has been cut, and now they feel the vacuum where you used to be. Let me give you a metaphor. Imagine a balloon tied to someone's wrist with a thin string. The balloon floats, but it's always within reach. They get used to it. They don't appreciate it. It's always there, hovering. But what happens when the string is cut and the balloon drifts into the open sky? Suddenly their head tilts up, their heart sinks, and they realize they can never grab it again. That is what your detachment does. It makes them realize you were not just floating around them. You were freedom, and now you're gone. But here's the challenge, my friends. Detachment is not easy. Your mind will fight it. You'll think, if I let go, maybe they'll forget me forever. If I stop caring, maybe they'll never come back. But the truth is the opposite. The more you cling, the more you push them away. The more you let go, the more your absence grows in their mind. Remember this paradox. It is when you stop waiting for them that they begin to wait for you. It is when you stop searching for them that they begin to search for you. That is the invisible law of attraction at play, and it is rooted in both psychology and Stoicism. So if you want your silence to become magnetism, you must release the string. You must stop feeding them your invisible energy. Walk in peace, not in waiting. Carry yourself with calm, not with chaos. Become so centered in your own life that your energy doesn't leak toward them anymore. That shift is what makes them restless. That shift is what makes them obsess. That shift is what makes them miss you in ways they can't admit. So here's what I want you to do. Anchor it into your mind right now. Go to the comments and write these words. I cut the string. Say it, type it, own it. I cut the string. Because the moment you stop clinging is the moment they start chasing. If this spoke to your heart, if you feel that invisible truth echoing in you, press that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because you're learning the art of silence, not as absence, but as power. Write it now, my friends. I cut the string. Number 4, why they look unaffected. My friends, let's confront one of the hardest illusions you'll ever face after walking away. They look unaffected. You're scrolling, you're watching, you're hearing from mutual friends, and it seems like they're living their best life. They're smiling in photos, laughing in videos, maybe even showing off a new person on their arm. On the surface, it appears as if your silence meant nothing. And in that moment, your mind starts to torture you with questions. Did they ever care? Was I so easy to replace? Did I waste my love on someone who never even valued me? That's the dangerous lie appearances whisper. But the truth, my friends, is that what you see on the surface is rarely what lives in the soul. Carl Jung reminded us that every person wears a mask, a persona, to present to the world. That mask is not the truth. It's a shield, a performance, a defense mechanism. When they seem unaffected, when they look like your absence hasn't touched them, that is the mask at work. They want to prove to themselves, to their friends, and maybe even to you that they're fine. But psychology proves again and again that rebounds, distractions, and forced happiness are fragile. They are short-lived fixes, not deep healing. They are bandages placed over wounds that still bleed in silence. Think of it like a cracked vase. From across the room, with flowers in it, it might look whole. But up close, you'd see the fractures. You'd notice the glue lines holding it together. That's what's happening inside of them. They show the world a put-together smile. But inside, your absence has already left a crack. And cracks only widen with time. Let's go deeper. Why do people rush into someone else's arms so quickly after you've gone? Because silence terrifies them. The emptiness you left behind is too heavy to sit with, so they fill it with noise, with parties, with attention, with someone new. But here's what they don't realize. Every distraction eventually fades. The new person loses their shine. The laughter feels forced. And when the mask slips, at night, when they're alone, when the phone is quiet, that's when the truth hits them. That's when the ghost of you shows up, stronger than ever. And here's the irony, folks. The harder they try to look unaffected, the more affected they actually are. Why post more pictures? Why try to flaunt a new life if nothing is wrong? It's theatre. It's a performance to convince both you and themselves that they've moved on. But the unconscious cannot be tricked forever. Jung said, "What you resist persists." The more they resist thinking of you, the more your memory grips them. Let me give you a metaphor you won't forget. Imagine dropping a stone into a pond. At first, the water calms quickly, and it looks like nothing happened. But underneath, ripples are still moving, waves are still shifting, energy is still being transferred. Your silence is that stone. Just because the surface of their life looks smooth doesn't mean the ripples aren't moving through their inner world. In fact, those ripples build momentum the longer they go unnoticed. So don't let appearances deceive you. Don't let a fake smile or a staged photo convince you that your absence didn't matter. Because the truth is, silence doesn't mean nothing is happening. It means everything is happening under the surface, where you cannot see. Your silence is pressing into their subconscious, into the quiet hours, into the spaces where masks fall off. And sooner or later, what is hidden under the surface will rise, the cracks will show, the rebounds will collapse, and the haunting of your absence will finally speak louder than their performance. So stay calm, stay unmoved, because the one who looks unaffected today will be the one who breaks tomorrow. And here's what I want you to anchor into your mind right now. Write it down in the comments. Appearances deceive me not. Say it until it becomes truth. Appearances deceive me not. If this lifted the weight of doubt off your chest, press that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. Because the surface lies, but the silence always tells the truth. Write it now, my friends. Appearances deceive me not. Number 5. The magical shift. My friends, this is where the story changes. This is the part that turns silence from something they can ignore into something they can't escape. Silence alone is powerful, yes, but when you add this next piece, it becomes irresistible. I call it the magical shift. It's the jaw-drop moment when your life doesn't just continue without them, it begins to radiate without them. And that radiance, that transformation, becomes the very thing that haunts their soul, because you're not just gone, you've changed, and nothing unsettles the human mind more than watching someone they underestimated become unrecognizable in their glow. Stoicism has always taught us detachment, that real strength comes from not clinging, not needing, not begging. But silence paired with detachment is only half the story. The real fire begins when detachment is blended with growth, mystery, and elevation. Growth means you're no longer the same person they left behind. Mystery means they don't know what's happening in your life anymore. And elevation means you're not just surviving, you're rising. This combination makes your absence feel like a ghost they can't put to rest. You stop being a memory and become a question mark that keeps them up at night. Think of it like this. Imagine someone leaves a painting half finished and walks away, thinking it will always stay that way. But when they come back months later, the canvas is not empty. It's alive with color, detail, and beauty they never expected. That's what your transformation does. They thought they walked away from an unfinished version of you, only to realize you've become a masterpiece in their absence. That realization doesn't just sting, it's magnetic. It pulls at them, forces them to look back, forces them to wonder how they ever let you go. Now, here's why this shift is so powerful. When you walk away but stay stagnant, they feel no urgency. They think, you're still the same, you'll still be there if I want you. But when your silence is matched with visible growth, when you look stronger, happier, and more grounded, they feel the clock ticking. They feel scarcity for the first time. They begin to think, maybe I can't get them back anymore. Maybe they're slipping away for good. And that fear, that realization, ignites desire. Carl Jung spoke often about the shadow, the hidden part of ourselves that we deny. When you grow in silence, you force them to face their own shadow. They see you evolving, and they're left staring at the fact that they haven't. They're still chasing distractions, still masking emptiness, while you've built something real. That comparison eats at them. It makes your absence unbearable, because now it's not just about missing you. It's about missing what they could have been if they had stayed with you. And let's not forget the power of mystery. When you stop broadcasting your every move, when you stop leaking your life on social media, when you let your growth happen in silence, you become unpredictable. And the human mind hates unpredictability. They want to know if you're sad, if you're lonely, if you're still waiting. But when you give them nothing, when you live in a way they can't access, their imagination does the rest, and imagination is always more haunting than reality. This, my friends, is the magical shift. You're not just silent, you're transformed. You're not just gone, you're glowing. You're not just absent, you're unforgettable. And here's the best part. You don't do it for them. You do it for you. You rise for yourself, and that rise becomes the very thing that pulls them back. They cannot resist it because it touches the deepest parts of their psyche. Fear of loss, fear of regret, and the haunting realization that they let go of something extraordinary. So let me leave you with this anchor. Don't just be silent. Become radiant in your silence. Don't just walk away. Rise higher. Go to the comments and write these words. I rise in silence. Claim it, type it, believe it. I rise in silence, because that is the magical shift. And if this opened your eyes, if it gave you strength, press that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because the silence that feels empty today will soon become the magnet that brings them back tomorrow. Write it now, my friends. I rise in silence. Number 6. The psychology of scarcity and regret. My friends, let's get into the psychology that makes silence so powerful and why it eventually turns their indifference into obsession. It all comes down to one simple law that governs human behavior. Scarcity creates desire. The less access someone has to you, the more valuable you become. This isn't just an opinion. It's a fact backed by psychology, marketing, even economics. People chase what they cannot have. They treasure what they can't easily reach. And when it comes to relationships, the same law applies. When you are always available, always giving, always pouring into them. They treated your attention like running water. It was constant, and because of that, they didn't stop to appreciate it. Think about it. How often do you value the air you breathe until it's taken away? How often do you cherish water until you're stranded in a desert? That's the paradox of human nature. We take what's abundant for granted, but we crave what's scarce. And that's what your silence introduces, scarcity. But here's the kicker, folks. Silence alone creates the first pangs of desire, but silence combined with progress is what triggers regret. This is the dangerous combination. When you go quiet, and you start to radiate a new confidence, a new aura, a new energy, it hits them like a storm. They don't just notice your absence, they notice your transformation, and suddenly they start asking themselves the one question that cuts deeper than any other. Did I lose the best thing I ever had? Carl Jung spoke often about the way our unconscious haunts us with the choices we've made. And regret is one of the deepest hauntings of all. When they see you rising in silence, when they sense that your life has not only moved on but elevated without them, it plants a seed of regret that grows and grows. Because now you're not just someone they let go, you're someone they let slip into greatness. And that realization is unbearable. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine holding a diamond in your hand every day. You toss it around. You barely look at it, because to you it's just another stone. Then one day, it's gone. At first, you shrug it off. But later, when you realize it was priceless, when you see its brilliance shining in someone else's hand, regret stabs you like a blade. That's what happens in the psychology of scarcity and regret. You were the diamond they thought was just another stone, and your silence, paired with your glow-up, forces them to see what they've lost. Now, some of you might ask, but if scarcity creates desire, why haven't they come back yet? The answer is timing. Scarcity works slowly, like water carving stone. At first, they resist. At first, they distract themselves, but the more time passes, the more scarcity sharpens into regret. They replay memories. They compare you to whoever they're with now, and every comparison fails. And the haunting thought keeps echoing. What if I let go of the best person I'll ever have? That thought doesn't go away. It festers. It grows. It digs into their soul until they can't silence it anymore. And here's where Stoicism meets psychology. Your role is not to chase, not to break the silence, not to try and speed up their regret. Your role is to remain calm, in control, focused on your own rise, because the more you glow, the more scarce you become in their world, and the scarcer you become, the more their regret poisons their pride. That's when silence flips the script. You stop being the one who was abandoned, and they become the one who feels abandoned by their own choices. So don't underestimate this power. Silence plus progress is unstoppable. It turns you into a legend in their mind. It makes them question themselves, their choices, even their worth. And no matter how far they run, they will always circle back to that question. Did I lose the best thing I ever had? Now, my friends, I want you to claim this truth. Anchor it into your heart. Go to the comments and write, "Scarcity makes me priceless." Say it, type it, own it. Scarcity makes me priceless, because you are not forgotten. You are not replaceable. You are the diamond they let slip, and regret will bring them back to face it. If this hit home, if this gave you strength, press that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. Because the more scarce you become, the more priceless you are. Write it now, my friends. Scarcity makes me priceless. Number 7. How even new lovers can't erase you. My friends, this is where we expose one of the greatest lies you've been told, the lie that someone new can replace you. It's easy to believe when you see them smiling with another person, posting pictures, flaunting their so-called happiness. And deep down it stings, doesn't it? You ask yourself, did I mean so little that they could just move on overnight? Did all of our moments together vanish into nothing? But here is the truth that will set you free. No rebound, no fling, no shiny new distraction can erase what you carved into them. When a deep attachment has been made, it doesn't just vanish because someone else is holding their hand. Think about this. The human mind doesn't work like a chalkboard where memories can be wiped clean. It works more like stone, where every experience is etched, carved, and engraved. You left an imprint on them, whether they admit it or not. And new lovers don't erase those carvings, they just get compared to them. That's the secret you need to remember. Your absence doesn't disappear when someone else shows up. It becomes a ghost that follows them into every new connection. Imagine them lying in bed with this new person, and out of nowhere, your face flashes in their mind. A joke you once told slips into their memory. A certain scent reminds them of you. And even while their body is present with someone else, their mind is wandering back to you. That's the haunting power of true attachment. It lingers, it echoes, it seeps into the quiet moments they can't control. Jung would say this is the unconscious at play, the memories we bury but can't escape, the attachments we try to deny but that resurface when we least expect them. Here's the magic of silence and elevation. When you grow in your absence, when you elevate your life without them, the comparisons grow even sharper. Suddenly, that new person doesn't measure up. They laugh, but it doesn't hit the same way yours did. They hold hands, but it feels empty compared to the warmth you gave. And the cruel truth of psychology is this: the more they try to replace you, the more they end up reminding themselves of you. Your absence becomes the ghost in their new bond, whispering in every comparison, in every moment that feels slightly off. And let's be honest, folks, rebounds are fragile by design. They are built on distraction, not depth. They're rushed into because your silence created a hole they couldn't face. But bandages don't heal wounds, they only cover them temporarily. And when the distraction fades, the wound reopens. And there you are, carved into the deepest part of their memory. This is why even someone else in their bed cannot silence the echo of you. They may try to drown it out with new kisses, new bodies, new nights, but it only amplifies the ghost of what they lost. I want you to hold on to this. You are not competing with the new person. You've already won because you've already been engraved in them. The only competition now is between their present distraction and their own haunting regret. And we both know which one lasts longer, because regret doesn't fade, comparison doesn't fade. And memories etched into the unconscious can never be erased. So stop tormenting yourself by thinking they've replaced you. Replacement is an illusion. They may look happy for a while, but the truth is, you're still there. You live in their shadow. You live in their what if. And as time passes, your ghost only grows stronger. That's the magic of deep attachment. It doesn't die, it lingers, and it ruins every cheap replacement they try to use against it. Now let me give you the affirmation that locks this truth into your mind. Go to the comments right now and write, I cannot be erased. Say it, type it, own it. I cannot be erased. Because your presence is not fragile, it is eternal in their memory. And if this lifted a weight from your chest, press that like button, subscribe and stay with me. Because you need to remember, no matter what you see on the surface, deep down in their soul, you still live there. Write it now, my friends. I cannot be erased. Number 8. The return. Why they always circle back. My friends, this is the moment we've been building toward, the question that has been gnawing at you from the very beginning. Will they ever come back? Or did my silence fail forever? And here's the payoff you've been waiting for. Silence wasn't failing, it was ripening. Just like fruit on a tree, silence takes time to mature. And the longer it ripens, the sweeter the return becomes. When you detach, when you elevate, when you remain scarce and untouchable, you don't just become a memory, you become unforgettable. No matter how far they run, no matter who they run to, they always circle back. Why? Because silence plus transformation is unstoppable. Think about it like this. The human heart is wired for comfort, for patterns, for familiarity. When you were in their life, you became part of that pattern. You were a daily rhythm, a constant presence. And when you walked away, they thought they could replace that rhythm easily. But as time stretches on, as your silence deepens, they begin to feel the gap where you used to be. And then, when they notice that you've elevated, that you've grown, that you've changed, they realize the rhythm they lost will never be repeated. That realization cuts deep, and it's what compels them to turn back toward you. Carl Jung spoke of archetypes, universal forces that live in the human psyche. One of those forces is the pull of the lost treasure. The human mind obsesses over what it once had and can no longer touch. You become that treasure, my friends. And the more scarce you become, the more valuable the treasure appears. They may chase new distractions, they may bury themselves in someone else, but deep inside, that archetype of regret starts to whisper. You lost something precious. You let go of something irreplaceable. And that whisper grows louder with every day of your silence. Picture this. Imagine a comet shooting across the night sky. At first it dazzles, then vanishes into darkness. The world keeps moving, people go back to their lives. But in the quiet of the night, eyes keep glancing upward, wondering when or if they'll see that light again. That's you. Your silence makes you rare, your elevation makes you luminous, and your scarcity makes them ache for your return. It's only a matter of time before curiosity, longing, and regret pull them back into your orbit. And here's the beauty of it. You don't have to do anything. You don't chase. You don't beg. You don't explain. You simply exist in your elevated state, and the magnetic field does the rest. Because what you're proving to them without a single word is this. You were never ordinary, you were never replaceable, and by the time they see it clearly, the weight of that truth will bend their pride until they break. That is why they always circle back. Now, will they return with the same face they once had? Not always. Sometimes they crawl back directly, apologizing, confessing regret. Sometimes they circle back quietly, watching you from a distance, unable to admit what they feel. Sometimes they come disguised as just checking in. But in every case, the pull is there, the haunting is there. Your silence engraved itself into their psyche, and nothing, not time, not distance, not someone new, can erase that pull. So I need you to hear me clearly. Don't doubt the silence. Don't mistake the waiting time as failure. This is the phase of ripening. This is where the fruit of regret grows sweeter by the day. And when the moment comes, when they finally face the storm inside their own soul, they will circle back. Because no one truly forgets the one who walked away with calm, elevated power. Anchor this truth into your spirit. Go to the comments and write these words. They always return. Say it with conviction. Type it with strength. Believe it with every fiber of your being. They always return. And if this gave you the hope and fire you needed to hold steady, press that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. Because your silence isn't the end of the story. It's the reason the story comes full circle. Write it now, my friends. They always return.